Hey guys, let's get more news from Steelers, but first don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. Ryan Clark laments Steelers WR drama, there's been a cancer in that room. The Pittsburgh Steelers are currently in a freefall. Pittsburgh has lost 3 straight games to go from 7-4 to 7-7 and is now in last place in the AFC North, making the playoffs feel very unlikely. Steelers wide receiver George Pickens has come under fire this week after a clip emerged of him not blocking a defender that would have led to a touchdown for running back Jaylen Warren. Pickens said he didn't block because he wanted to avoid injury, leading to Warren saying he would have blocked for Pickens. ESPN's Ryan Clark, who spent 8 of his 13 career seasons playing for Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, addressed the team's most significant problems on Thursday on NFL Live. It's very rare that Mike Tomlin speaks extra. He was only supposed to speak twice this week, but stepped up to address this issue. This is a team that now talks more when they lose than when they win. When you lose, you should keep your mouth shut and get to work, Clark said. There is no excuse for lack of effort, there's no reason for not putting your all into the game, he said. Clark also brought up the locker room issues the Steelers have had over the past few years, particularly regarding wide receivers. In doing so, he seemingly blames a chronic lack of cohesion and accountability in the Steelers' wide receiver room for their recent struggles, pointing to a cancer within the group that needs immediate remedy. The other piece of it for me is the state of the room, the wide receiver room. From Antonio Brown to Juju, to Chase Claypool to Deontay, and now to George Pickens, there's been a cancer in that room. I don't know how it started. I don't know if it's Coach Tomlin's ability or willingness to let you be authentically you, but something needs to change. What's happened generation to generation, era to era, year to year in that room has been unacceptable, Clark concluded. With dwindling playoff hopes, Saturday's showdown against the Bengals could be the ultimate test of whether the Steelers can pull themselves out of their nosedive or succumb to a full-blown crash. Ray Fittipaldo believes most players in that locker room share Jaylen Warren's thoughts about George Pickens. There may not be another sport in which the whole is greater than the sum of its parts more than football. Camaraderie is important in every team sport. But I'm not sure outside of football it's more damaging if you don't feel like the guy next to you is playing for you. Because if he's not, then you're going to take a hit. Literally. That's what happened to Pittsburgh Steelers RB Jaylen Warren last Saturday in the first quarter against the Indianapolis Colts. He picked up 6 yards on 1st and goal from the 7, George Pickens putting little effort in his block attempt, and allowing his defender to give the running back a good whack near the goal line. Warren was asked about that on Wednesday by Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. He said, in part, if I was in that position I would have blocked for him. But we play differently. Referring to Pickens' comment that he was trying to avoid injury, he said, at the end of the day, he was doing what he thought was best for him. I think everyone read that quote, /A, Fittipaldo said on 93.7 The Fan on Thursday with Andrew Filipponi and Chris Mueller. I think most players in that locker room have those thoughts. That's the way they play football. That's the way they were brought up in football, and George wasn't. Now, I don't know that it's true that Pickens wasn't brought up that way in football. He's always had a reputation for being a physical player, in fact, and he has put plenty of NFL tape out there dominating defenders with his physicality. His comment about protecting himself from injury felt a lot more like an excuse than anything. But even that doesn't help your case in the locker room. You don't want to be teammates with that guy, Fittipaldo said. Even though players won't say that on the record, 99% of the players in that locker room don't want to play with a guy like that. That's where they are right now. They've kind of got to put up with him and hope he rights the ship here. We've heard from many talking heads in recent days weighing in on Pickens and what the Steelers should do to handle him. Almost all of them have probably never spoken to Pickens in their lives, nor have been in that locker room discussing this issue. Fittipaldo has, however, so his observations are interesting. He said that there are other players in that locker room, too, who off the record will just shake their head and say, "What's going on here?" He added, "It's not for public consumption, but other players do not really understand, I don't think, to a full extent what's going on." It does make you wonder what kind of conversations take place between Pickens and his teammates. Not generally, but specifically when these things come up about what he says in public. What did Warren say to Pickens about not blocking for him? What did Pickens say to Warren about his comments? I think we can readily assume which comments went over better in the locker room. Landon Collins agrees to hire Giants, will fly to Steelers to join the team. Safety Landon Collins told CBS Sports' Josina Anderson on Thursday that he has signed with the Steelers. Collins became a free agent on March 10 when the Washington Commanders released him after 3 seasons with the team. According to ESPN's John Keim, the move was likely motivated by the salary cap, as cutting Collins saved Washington $6.6 million against the cap. Collins still had 3 years left on his contract when he was released and was expected to have $16.2 million against the cap in 2022. Keim added that the Commanders tried to work out a restructure to reduce Collins' cap number but were unable to do so. To the terms. Collins, 28, is a 7-year NFL veteran who was originally selected by the Giants in the second round of the 2015 NFL Draft out of Alabama. Collins was one of the NFL's top safeties during his 4-year stint in New York, earning 3 Pro Bowl nods and a first-team All-Pro selection. His best season came in 2016, when he set career highs with 125 tackles, 5 interceptions, 4 sacks and 13 passes defended en route to finishing third in NFL Defensive Player of the Year voting. Coming off his 3rd Pro Bowl selection in 2018, Collins signed a 6-year, $84 million contract with Washington in free agency. Collins did not add to his Pro Bowl tally during his 3 years with the Commanders, but was still a productive player when healthy. After posting 117 tackles in 15 games during the 2019 season, Collins missed 9 games in 2020 because of a torn Achilles tendon. Collins missed 4 games last season with a foot injury, but still put up solid numbers with 81 tackles, 3 sacks and 2 interceptions. Because of Washington's problems at linebacker, Collins was called upon to play some linebacker last season in addition to his safety duties. This added versatility has perhaps made him even more attractive to teams on the free agent market. Ultimately, the Steelers were able to land Collins and bolstered his secondary and run-stopping ability in the process. By signing with the Steelers, Collins returns to where it all began for him in the NFL, albeit an entirely new regime. And you, what do you think of the Landon Collins situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.